And one of the things I shared with them was the importance of review. So important to review what we've studied before, and both groups at both semi-annual meetings looked at gratitude. So we're going to do a little twist on that tonight, and we're going to take a look at creative gratitude. So that's your heading, creative gratitude, which actually has a lot to do with sales, which actually has a lot to do with leadership. So I'll sort of talk. Occasionally I will say, this is important, write this down. So I would do that, but try to catch some of the elements of this, all right? So if you recall, I went through a really cool PowerPoint on gratitude from the strategic coach. And some of you took that to heart, and you have started your 21-day gratitude focus, which means for 21 days, you're taking a few moments, either in the morning or at night, or both, to just jot down, perhaps in your journal, things that you're grateful for. So here's the deal. Most people think of gratitude as reactive. If something good happens to me, then I feel grateful. You know, that is a reactive stance. So I'm constantly looking outside of myself to find good things. And if they're good, then I'm like, yay, I'll have a few moments of gratitude or gratefulness. But a far more powerful outlook is creative gratitude. Creative gratitude is actively looking for things to appreciate. Okay? Actively looking for things to appreciate. So here's a good important statement. So write this down. What you appreciate appreciates. What does that make sense? What you appreciate appreciates. So just like stocks, just like gold and bonds and investments, financial investments, like those appreciate over time. So your attention raises the value of things you're grateful for and people you're grateful for, right? So if I take time to spend with my wife, which I try to do, and I actively think of things I'm grateful for, like here's what I appreciate about her, and then I verbalize that, then that appreciation appreciates. That's a good thing. Most people don't take the time, and I've got to admit, I am not the best at this. I got to work at this. My mind automatically defaults oftentimes to the negative, or what's not working well, or what I'm frustrated with, or gee whiz, I'm just not comfortable right now. And so I'm always working toward the goal of comfort. Some of you may know what I'm talking about. So here's a big thought. When you're in a grateful state of mind, everything starts in your state of mind. When you're in a grateful state of mind, your nervous system can't experience negativity, like anger. Your brain can't experience negativity, like guilt over something you feel bad about. If you're in a grateful state of mind, you can't be envious of other people for very long. You can't keep gratitude and self-pity in your mind at the same time. You see that? That's huge. So whatever you focus on, whatever you choose to focus on, really makes a massive difference. Here's another big thought. Okay? So this is one to make a note of. You are not the facts, F-A-C-T-S, not F-A-X. You are not the facts and events of your life. Did you know that? So just like we did at the top of the handout I did at the semi-annual meeting where I says your past, then I had a not equal sign. Your past does not equal your future. You are also not the facts and events of your life. You are the person who responds to them. I know this is heavy. That's okay. Think with me. You're the person who responds to the events in your life. And you, Stephen Covey says, you are responsible for the choices that you make. You can't blame You can't blame tons of people, right? So you can either choose to react to life and get more and more negative, like this isn't working, that's not working, I'm not happy with this, and she offended me, and blah, 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 blah. Or you can choose to be active, and you can make a choice. So this is a huge power to increase the value of any situation or any sales interaction with the potential, with a prospect on the phone, or with a client in their office, or a relationship on your team. That's a big power. That's practicing creative gratitude. So that's the big idea for today. You get that? Nod your head if you get it. Yes? Okay, good. I'm assuming that some of you who've blacked out your video are also nodding. So here's the deal. You can't be mad and grateful at the same time. You can't be frustrated and grateful at the same moment. When you practice creative gratitude from the inside, you get bigger, okay? When you practice thanklessness, when you practice reacting, getting negative, and just letting your mind go on warp speed into the dark side, then you allow the outside circumstances to control you. And you get smaller. You get smaller on the inside. You have less influence. You have your leadership decreases. Your power shuts down. This is big. I mean, when I look at people in America now, there's a large percentage of people in America who are not grateful for what they have. We live in one of the richest countries in the world, but we're the most unhappy. And I'm not saying all Americans, but there's a large percentage who are not happy because they're not grateful. They're just noticing everything that's not theirs yet. You know, I want more, I want better, I want different. And they're not being grateful. They're allowing consumerism to take over. And you know what? They feel like victims. I'm not in control of my life. Who's made me this way? I'm upset at you. I'm upset at the government. I'm upset at President Trump. I'm upset at this particular party. I'm mad because of the laws. I'm loss of control. We'll talk about this sometime on a different call. But that's just practicing thanklessness. And when you're in a sales mode and you're trying to influence other people and you're trying to have a certain amount of status when you call, you have got to be powerful and grateful. And when you are, man, it impacts other people. Okay? So this is what I'm talking about today, tonight, is a state of mind. All right? Now let me take another twist on this. Unexpressed gratitude. This is something important. You should make a note. Unexpressed gratitude is ungratefulness to those around you. Think about that. If you're not expressing your gratitude to people around you and people you work with and people you call on, then that's ungratefulness to them. And you can't just say, well, she should have known, or what. That doesn't make, people are not mind readers. You've got to show your gratitude. Now, I got to tell you, this is not my strong suit. I spent nearly an hour with my two daughters yesterday on Skype. Okay, because I hadn't seen them, and they're in different parts of the country. So Deb and I sat down and we Skyped together and had a good chat. But you know what? I realized as I hung up, I told them I loved them and stuff, but I didn't tell them that I was really proud of them, that I was grateful for them being my kid. I didn't share any of those feelings with them. And so I assume they know that, but again, my kids aren't mind readers. So I had to come back and remind, unexpressed gratitude is ungratefulness to people around you. So tell people, just let them know. So, all right, let me go through 6 or 7 real quick, like a gratitude list. If you want to be a leader, here's some ways that you can practice creative gratitude. All right, some of these you've heard. If you haven't, write them down. Number 1, celebrate the circumstances you're tempted to complain about. Celebrate circumstances that you're tempted to just bitch about. Complain. Okay? So why is that? Why would that sound so counterintuitive? That's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Something goes wrong. Had a really bad day. I've had lots of cancellations happen. My calendar has suddenly emptied itself. And I want to get with my office mates and complain about that. Well, you know what? How can I be grateful for that? Here's why. Challenges teach you more than comfort. Right? Challenges teach you more than comfort. And one of my favorite sayings, you know, when we succeed, we party. When we fail, what happens? We ponder. That's what we want to do. So challenges actually teach you more. They're teachers in your life. Here's the other part of that. Character connects to the adversities that you've had to push through. Isn't that true? You don't develop character by watching TV and sitting on the couch eating potato chips. That's not how you grow. It's like, how's your leadership? Oh, it was great today. I was on the couch for 6 hours and I ate 3 bags of chips and some ice cream. I really grew as a person. No, that doesn't happen that way. So character directly connects with the challenges that you've had to push through in your life. So although they kind of suck at the time, as you look back, you're like, you know what? That was good for me. So celebrate those circumstances you want to complain about. Number 2, appreciate the second chance others give you. Appreciate the second chance other people give you. You know, I think of all the times that other people gave me a second chance when I screwed up as a young person or as an old person. People give me grace sometimes when I don't deserve it. And they give me a second chance. So when you've had a second chance, when you've dropped the ball in a relationship or at work, appreciate the fact that makes you grateful. Hey, I've been given a second chance. I remember one time in my former life in the corporate world at Southwestern, I had a great idea to reduce inventory. So I found all of these books that I thought, well, we don't need these. We're not going to be able to sell them to anybody. So I'll just send them out to thousands of people all over the US and reduce inventory and save money and etc. Well, the fact is the head accountant called me later and said, you know what, you just cost us about $20,000 plus postage. And I was like, what? I thought I was helping. So I wasn't fired for that. And I appreciated the second chance I got. I was trying to be helpful and I was being stupid. Okay. And so here, and also just as a tangent, is this true or not? When something works, I mentally like to take credit for it. You know, where there's a win, I'm like, yeah, I had a part in that. In fact, yeah, recognition, please, right? And when things go wrong, I tend to blame shift and just overlook my own mistakes. Anybody really good at that? Yes, good. 1 or 2 honest people. Thank you. Well done. All right, so number 3, this one's short. Value opportunities to learn. Unexpected gratitude. Value opportunities to learn. So if you watch a really good TED Talk, or if you go online and see a video of something that helps you learn a new idea, be grateful for that. Most people in the world don't have that opportunity. Value that. Number 4, respect the shoulders you stand on. Does that make sense? Respect the shoulders you stand on. No one got here just because of themselves. The good that other people see in you resided or came from someone before you. Isn't that true? So this notion that I'm a self-made man, I'm a self-made millionaire or whatever, that's an arrogant myth. But you say, well, you know what? I did do all this. I worked hard. But yeah, guess what? You were given good genes from your parents, right? You perhaps grew up in an environment that was conducive to something positive. You were encouraged. So you got that from someone else. You were standing on someone else's shoulders. So don't just look around and say, I have done this myself. Pride goes before destruction. So remember that. Okay. Number 5. Admire those who choose to follow your leadership. Admire people who choose to follow your leadership. You know, every once in a while, I get an email or a card or a little note on Facebook from somebody I worked with years ago, and they say thanks, or they say, hey, I always remember this, and they're grateful. Well, that makes me grateful. I admire people who have benefited from my leadership. There's a student I have right now in my management class. I teach management classes on Thursday nights. For 4 hours, they get to listen to me talk about management, which is horrifying. 4 hours, management 371. And here's the deal. And I let them talk. Don't worry, it's not just me. But there's a student in there named Matt Mosley, who every class, he is the most humble, respectful, likable, intelligent student I've had at that university. And when the class is over, you know what he does? He comes up, and everybody's filing out of the room. He comes up and reaches out his hand, shakes my hand, and says, thank you for that class. That was good. And I think he means it. But you know what? I admire people who are that coachable and open to, I mean, he's grateful. So that's that's a connector. Yeah? Okay. Let's do one more. And last one on creative gratitude. Acknowledge that serving is a privilege. Serving is a privilege. And when you express your gratitude, that shifts your thinking from, oh, this is a burden, another day of work, to an opportunity. You have an opportunity today, or maybe you just finished today. And you can look back and say, was I really grateful? Did I express that? Did that come through in the tone of my voice? So gratitude coming from you confirms that other people matter. You know, it also releases you from your past. You know, some of you are haunted by feelings of guilt or mistakes you've made, or you just feel every time you think of a bad decision you made with poor judgment, it just haunts you. Guess what? If you're grateful for where you are, you can be released from that past to a great degree. This gratitude we're talking about strengthens connections, and it gives you energy, and that will make you more effective. Okay, so big takeaway from today is express your gratitude, notice it, don't wait to feel it, and think about who your assignment is to think about who or what you should feel grateful for, even if you don't feel it as an emotion. Who should I feel grateful for? Or what circumstance do I need to be grateful about? Even though right now it's not just pouring out of me emotionally. Make a list. So write somebody a note, drop them an email, pat somebody on the back, tell them thanks, tell them how much you appreciate them. I know that this is a culture of like, rise, eat, kill, hunt, commission, fine. But you know what? We're working with people. We're not calling on robots. So the people element is really important. The greatest power of gratitude is it changes you as a leader. That's what we want. All right? So think, who's on my gratitude list? What is on my gratitude list? How can I spend more time mentally noticing that? Fini! Je suis fini for all the French people on this. I'm finished. Actually, no one is probably French on this, so I'm wasting my language skills. All right. If I knew how to say it in Estonian, I would. Any comments from the gallery? I've got you on gallery mode so I can watch. Anything? Was anybody doing their gratitude journal and you had a discovery?
Hi, Lee.
Hi.
I did my to journal, and I noticed like that some days I don't feel gratitude for nothing because it was like shitty day. So then I force myself to find something. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you think of anything? Thank you. Did you think of anything that when you were doing
Like thank for, I mean, for bad things that happen also. Yeah. So everything.
Oh, okay. Well, and you know, I want to be sure I say this correctly. I agree with that. If you're driving your car and it smashes into a tree and bursts into flames, you shouldn't jump out and go, yay, my car's on fire. My car's on fire. What a great day. But just instead of like that's an ultra positive mental attitude, which is a little scary. Maybe just having a proper mental attitude toward problems and circumstances. That gives you a creative gratitude. Very good. Thank you. Anybody else? A good share there.
I have a question.
Charles.
So you mentioned in the U.S. we have like, or even the Western side, so Canada, U.S., one of the wealthiest countries. Why is it that we have so much, but then our level of gratitude is so low? I know I'm guilty of this as well. I just want to know where that stems from.
Yeah. Well, if you've read or if you remember that little PowerPoint that I did, Dan Sullivan's theory is that we're obsessed with materialism and consumerism. And there was a circle in the PowerPoint that had consumerism, which is absorbing more and more of you and your mentality. And what pushes back against that from the outside, I mean, you have to come up with a certain amount of balance. Gratitude is what balances against consumerism. Consumerism is all about, you know what? If you don't use this razor, you're not going to have that girl. If you don't buy this car, I hate car commercials. They go right into your subconscious. And even though I sit and watch one and I'm like, fast cars, exciting music, rock guitars, you know, it's taking the corners. And I'm like, that's a cool looking car. It's a car. Okay. And if I bought that car next week and drove it in about 2 months, I'd be going, yeah, I've got a nice car. Okay. So what? What's different? I need something different, more, better, different. So I think that comes from that. Some of the, I've mentioned on the call, some of the happiest people I've ever met or heard about were from countries that had traditionally were not wealthy. When my wife and son went to South Africa and worked in Khayelitsha, which is like a massive city of people just living in almost in just rubble almost. They were building a school for them, but they were the happiest, friendliest, most outgoing people and grateful at the same time. And our assumption was, gosh, you're living in a tin shack. You must really hate your life. And they're like, no, life is good, you know? So our Western mentality, at least I'm speaking for some Americans, is really skewed. Each country, each culture suffers from a different error, I would say. And ours is materialism. That if I get more stuff and I just sit on a big pile of cool stuff, then I will be happy. But you see some of the wealthiest people here. If you look at people in Hollywood, they're just, woo, interesting people, really messed up. Anyway, that's a good question, Charles. It probably would take at least a full call to answer that fully, but consumerism is my answer. Anybody else? Good interactions. Let's see. Okay, everybody's happy to be done. All right, you have done well once again participating. Next week, I probably won't do another review of what we've already covered, but I want these things, if some of you are tuning in the morning, you're like, hey, I just want to get pumped up for the day. My calls are not typically pump up calls. You'll have to go online for that. I just want you to align yourself with principles that'll help you grow as a leader. So that's it for now. Thank you for tuning in. You guys have a great rest of the day. All right. See ya. Carry on.
You as cold as ice.